Hello and welcome back to our second episode. We have updated our video podcast to be titled WWBTD, aka What Would the Behavior Team Do? But we are still keeping all of our episodes within 15 minutes or less. We are also currently working on a website to get up and running so our audience members will be able to access current and past episodes as well as additional resources and information about the BBT. In today's episode, we will be covering home-based behavioral strategies and will be reflecting on this thing called remote learning that we've all been braving these last few weeks. Because folks, we are officially in our last week of school. Hallelujah. Woo! With us today, we have the same lovely behavior techs and mothers, Shalonda, Joy, Jen, and Ashley. Thank you all for being with us today. And my name is Kate, of course. Let's first start with a warm welcome and icebreaker. So if you were a kitchen utensil, what would you be? Shalonda, can you start us off?
I would be a microwave oven. I like to think that I'm a warm-hearted person. I like things warm. I don't like being cold. So yeah, I'd be a microwave oven.
I think I'd be an oven mitten. I feel like these days I'm trying to shelter my family and my kids from this heat, this crisis that's going on. And so just like that protection to keep them feeling as normal as possible and keep things as normal as possible.
Yeah. I feel like a blender when you need a chopper. You know how the blender blends it up way too fast, but you have to figure out how to still use it. That's how I feel.
I love that. I am feeling like a meat thermometer, trying to gauge if it needs to stay longer, or wondering if I already burned it.
Very nice. Very nice, everyone. Thank you. To know a person based on these answers, huh? So just as we touched on in our last episode, no one was expecting remote learning and the added challenges that came with it. I expect some maybe, quote unquote bad behaviors may have come back up, the ones that you maybe think you had under control, or maybe you discovered completely new ones. So Joy, would you mind starting us off and sharing any new or old behaviors that emerged for your kids during this time?
Sure. So last time I told you I have older kids. So the new behavior is sort of an old behavior. I see a lot of tension between my kids and a little bit more bickering than normally, probably mostly based on tight quarters. Yeah, so maybe my kids acting a little bit like they did back when it was just mom and the three of us home all day, every day, which is exactly what it is again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ashley, what about you?
I saw the lying, the little white lie that don't make any sense. And my wonder is if it's because I hadn't made the connection with him that I needed to that week. It was more of a business relationship. My cousin brought this up and it really rang true to me that we were kind of in business relationships with our children now. And so that mommy, that connection piece, we had kind of separated from because we're trying to get everything done every day. And so I'm wondering if he just felt like he couldn't be open with me because they were ridiculous little lies.
Ashley, that reminds me of what we say all the time on the behavior team, that behavior is communication.
Yes.
He was telling you something.
Exactly.
I would say I'm seeing a lot more refusal. We definitely haven't spent this much time together ever as a family in a small space. And I'm also putting a lot more demands on my kids than usual. So a lot more no and refusals.
I would say a lot of attitude, a lot more attitude than normal, with me just trying to set, boundaries or limits around technology and just them not being as patient as mom would need them to be, seeing as how now I'm working, I'm a full-time teacher. And, in the midst of trying to teach them, I'm having to go back and research how to do a lot of the work that they're doing. It's challenging in ways. And so things that I've done to kind of support that, or to, help be strategic in that, is to kind of look over the work prior to giving it to them the night before. So that way, once we sit down, we're able to get straight to the work and not so much time spent on mom having to learn and teach at the same time. And so that's been very helpful. And then offering, technology as far as video games is concerned during breaks. So in between work sessions was something that we resorted to doing.
Yeah, those infamous video games, right? Always a challenge. But it sounds like you figured out some things that did work and helped through this time. Including kind of making the schedule. I think I remember talking to you about, you had to schedule breaks as well. But it's funny that you actually had to kind of like become the student as well as the teacher and like relearn all of this knowledge that like are you smarter than a fifth grader knowledge?
Exactly.
Yeah,
No.
I don't remember all the moon phases. Sorry. So in regards to remote learning, what other strategies worked for people? Jen, would you mind sharing some strategies that did work for you?
I'm going to piggyback off of Shalonda. One thing that did work definitely was finding something of high interest for them to motivate them. Typically, they wouldn't have video games during the school week, but making that exception and like, okay, well, you can have 30 minutes if you finish your work. But also something that was really, really helpful was giving them choices in like what their day was going to look like. We had like a set time and a little bit and a routine that we kind of stuck through Monday through Friday, but really giving them some flexibility and choice in what that was going to look like. Like for say my son didn't want to do his reading first or his journal, he was able to choose to do science instead. So, but everything within my limits.
Yeah, that's great. Ashley, anything to add to that? Anything that really worked for you and your kid?
I would agree, like building on what Jen said, what really worked for me was letting go of the scheduled times. Like this needs to be done by 12, this needs to be done by 1, and instead like having that full block. So from 9 to 3, we're going to be working. And I feel like the day that they got the most work done was the day where I was like, I will allow you guys to take breaks as you choose. I'll allow you guys to stop as you want. Just know that I'm going to be looking for this work to be done between 9 and 3. And they actually did really, really well when they kind of had that freedom to move through the day, knowing what the expectations were, but knowing that there was also a end time.
Oh, that's interesting. So actually more flexibility worked for you in your house. Anything to add to that, Joy?
Yeah, I was just fascinated listening to Ashley that I want to incorporate more of that into my day. The thing that I found most useful with the struggles that we had the most of was just reminding my kids that it was okay to take a break and teaching them how to ask for a break. And hopefully that's a lifelong skill that they can take a time out when they need it, whether it's from the task, from a person, from a place, taking a quick walk around the block if you need a change of scenery. But just definitely those, like I heard you guys scheduling in breaks, and I probably could have done that better, but teaching my kids how to ask for a break. I think that's something that we do in classrooms a lot. And I also wanted to just remind Jen of something that she said that has really helped me get through this, is that our kids are not used to us just being unavailable sometimes when we're home. Typically our kids find us when we're home, we're moms, and just that reminder and giving myself a little bit of a break and not being the mom all the time. Sometimes I'm home working.
Well, and to Joy, that just made me think about even with the connection piece with my son, taking that time to actually stop and be
Yeah.
mama again.
Yeah.
Where you can come to me in the middle of the day when I know you're supposed to be working, but you're telling me something about basketball. And instead of me saying, what, you know, you're supposed to be on this right now, listening, oh, that's funny, you know, sitting and talking with you and allowing you to laugh with me and
Yeah.
turning off that teacher hat and being mama for again,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank-
that's huge.
Yeah. Thanks for this camaraderie and getting us all through it. Moms have good tips. Parents have good tips.
Absolutely. You guys know best, right? I mean, it sounds like overall there was quite a bit of, you know, kind of experimentation, what worked, what didn't, figuring out what flowed in your house. I mean, Ashley, I know you had not just your kids, but other kids, cousins, right? And those people react differently, what works and what doesn't. So it sounds like, and I'm really glad that you guys were able to give yourselves grace and the fact that recognizing, you know, with all these new roles, you can't do them all perfectly all the time, you know? So in this experience, through talking to you and others, you know, it really made me think about how amazing our teachers truly are. I mean, I definitely think about this all year long. It's a crazy job, remote learning or not. Can't say that would be my number one dream job, but I have to give it hats off to them. They really are amazing. How has this experience maybe reshaped your mindset about our teachers? Shalonda, do you mind sharing?
It just goes to show how resilient they are and just how hard, you know, they work and how much they really do care for our children. And just at a drop of a dime, you know, they just change everything up and, you know, we were able to get through it. And so it just goes to show that, you know, how flexible they are and just how much they really care and how hard their job can be at times.
I agree with you, Shalonda and Kate. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, they didn't even have a curriculum. No one was really prepared for anything like this. So they really had to not only plan and teach, plus some of them might have their own kids at home that they have to be also teaching. So really challenging, and they stepped up to the plate, and I just hats off to them too. Yeah.
Yeah. The level of commitment that they showed is incredible, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, I agree with that flexibility piece. It makes you, or made me think about the teachers who have to figure out how to meet each student's needs individually while still trying to figure out how to make, how to get the classroom what they need collectively. Because I'm seeing that here with just 3 kids, where some things may work for 2 and not for 1, or 1 for, you know, they're rock stars. They're rock
Yep.
stars.
Great point.
Yeah, that's huge. You know, we say differentiate all the time, but we know, you know, sometimes people think about how difficult that really is to uphold, right? So yeah, hats off, everyone. And I want to thank everyone for being here. Ashley, Jen, Joy, Shalonda, and thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with your stories. I know this is personal stuff. And for those parents and families specifically that are listening out there, we want to challenge you to take on maybe just one strategy you've heard today. I know we're going into summer, but you know, even just scheduling that time for connection, or maybe, you know, reorganizing what time they play video games. Just, it really doesn't matter how small or big, but it could make the world of difference. Of course, no pressure. Now, for everyone listening out there, parents, families, educators, you made it. It is summertime, and hopefully we can all relax a little bit. But don't worry, this podcast is not over. Our next episode, we will be covering self-care and radical self-care, which means we will be having the amazing Dr. Trinita Ware as our special guest. We do hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching this episode of WWBTD. See you next time.
Woo-hoo!
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.